Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're doing a preview of the Enchants for the Somatology Laboratory weapons. It's releasing today. Most of this data has been compiled from info from the Divine Pride forums and KRO data. Basically, the EDDA Somatology Laboratory weapons have enchants for the 4th and 3rd slots, and on the 3rd slot you get the chance to get the special ones that you see here right now. Now, moving on to the materials, you actually need the Somatology research document and Somatology experimental fragments. These are rewards for completing the instance. They're also dropped by the monsters and the final boss from the instance itself. Now you have 3 enchant options. There's the general enchant, the advanced enchant, and the guaranteed enchant, which, well, the last one only applies to the 3rd slot, where basically you get the chance to get you can choose a special one. Now for the general enchant, first, the 4th slot, you need 50 Somatology research documents and 50 Somatology experimental fragments. There is a 65% chance of success, and you get a random enchant: Sharp 1 to 3, Expert Archer 1 to 3, Fighting Spirit 4 to 6, Spell 1 to 3, or Fatal 1 to 3. There is a 30% chance of failure, in which the weapon is not destroyed, and a small chance, 5% chance, where the weapon does get destroyed from when the enchant fails. Moving on to the 3rd slot, you still need the same 50 research documents and 50 experimental fragments. There is a 30% chance of success, and you get a random special enchant. Now, thing is, like with these random ones, you're not necessarily sometimes you're not gonna get an enchant that's suitable for the weapon that you have, because these enchants specifically give bonuses to the weapons that they're enchanted with, if there are the right weapons. So if you get, let's say for example, you get Origin Blanco and you get an enchant for, well, not the swordsman enchant, well, it's not really going to work. Ideally, I wouldn't even recommend doing this, just because it's a waste of materials. But yeah, 30% chance. There is a 50% chance of failure, the weapon does not get destroyed, and a 20% chance that the weapon is destroyed when the enchant fails. Next is the advanced enchant for the 4th slot. 500 research documents and 500 experimental fragments. There is a 90% chance of success, which is a lot better, but obviously you have to use a lot more materials. You do get the random enchant, so Sharp 1 to 3, Expert Archer 1 to 3, Fighting Spirit 4 to 6, Spell 1 to 3, or Fatal 1 to 3. There is a 10% chance of failure, but the weapon does not get destroyed. It's a lot better. Obviously, you have to do the 4th slot enchant first if you want to push through with the guaranteed enchant, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. Now, for the 3rd enchant of the advanced option, you still need 500 research documents and 500 experimental fragments. There is a 70% chance that you'll get a random special enchant. But obviously it's the same situation where you might not get the exact enchant that you need for the weapon, thereby making it useless. There is a 30% chance of failure, but again, the weapon does not get destroyed. I honestly won't recommend the general or the advanced enchant for the 3rd slot, just because more often than not you're gonna get enchants that you can't use. There is a 1 in a million chance, obviously, that you can get the enchant that you want, but, you know, then again, it's it's highly unlikely, you know. Now moving on to the guaranteed enchant, and this is only for the 3rd slot. Like I said earlier, you will need to enchant it with a 4th slot first before you can do a guaranteed enchant. So basically you need 5,000 of the research documents, and obviously 100% chance of success, and you get to choose which enchant that you want. Basically this is actually the most, well, probably the most important thing that you will have to do, especially when you're trying to enchant your weapon. But then again, it is 5,000 research documents, so it might take time to farm. Especially with a new instance, the materials will definitely be pricey, so, you know, have to think about that first. Now, just a rundown for the possible 4th slot enchants. Basically, you have the Sharp, Fighting Spirit, Expert Archer, Fatal, and Spell enchants. You know, for Sharp, level 1 to 3, you get hit and crit rate. Fighting Spirit, you get attack, base attack, and attack bonuses and hit. For Expert Archer, you get long range damage up to 6%. For Fatal, you get crit rate and critical damage up to 8%. And for Spell, you get M attack and VCT reduction up to -8%. Now, talking about the 3rd slot enchants, first we're going to look into SAs Memory. And this is specifically giving bonuses to the Rune Knight weapons. So for every 3 refine rate of the Velar, you get Bowling Bash damage plus 10% and Ignition Break damage plus 5%. Every 3 refines of Vernon, you get 10% Clashing Spiral damage and 5% Sonic Wave damage. And for every 3 refine rates of the Argent Blanco, you get 10% Brandish Spear damage and 5% 100 Spear damage. Now, it doesn't really, well, to be honest, it doesn't really sound that good, but especially if you're playing F2P or free to play, any bonuses are actually welcome in the build. Next, for the mechanics, we have Howard's Memory. Every 3 refines of the Golden Wrench, you get Power Swing damage plus 7% and Axe Boomerang damage plus 5%. For every 3 refine rate of Engine Pile Bunker, you get 7% Knuckle Boost damage and 5% Arm Cannon damage. You know, any arm cannon damage is welcome. Every 3 refines of the Maxi Spanner, you get 7% Axe Tornado damage and physical and magical damage taken from all sizes minus 5%. Next, Aramis Memory for the Guillotine Cross. It's a bit weird because they have that main hand offhand thing with the Judgment Slasher and the Repent Slasher. So basically every 5 of the sum of refine rate, so basically if you have plus 10 main hand plus 10 offhand, that's basically plus 20. Meteor Assault and Soul Destroy damage plus 10%, Cross Impact and Counter Slash damage plus 5%. For every 3 refine rates of the Agudo Philo, Dark Claw cooldown minus 3 seconds, actually pretty good, and then attack speed plus 2%. You know, I kind of wish you get critical damage with this, but you know, like especially at plus 12, you basically have minus 12 seconds of cooldown for Dark Claw. And every 3 refine rates of Ripper Cross, you get 7% Rolling Cutter damage and 5% Cross Ripper Slasher damage. Catherine's Memory, this is for the Warlocks. Every 3 refines of Crimson Rose Stick, you get 7% Hell Inferno damage and 5% Crimson Rock damage. For every 3 refine rates of Staff of Miracle, you get 10% Soul Strike and Napalm Vulcan damage and 5% Soul Expansion damage. And for every 3 refines of the Gravitation Staff, you get 10% Gravitational Field damage and 5% Drain Life damage. For the Archbishops, Margaretta's Memory, every 3 refines of Penitentia, you get 10% Magnus Exorcismus damage and 5% Judex damage. For every 3 refines of the Addo Rare Staff, you get 5% Holy Property Magic damage and 5% Adore damage, which is actually pretty good because technically both the additional 5% Holy Property Magic damage still applies for Adore, so you're looking at about. Anyway, every 3 refines of Lucis Flail, you get 10% Judex damage and 5% Dupe Light damage. This is actually pretty good, and I actually have something planned for this. Next, for Rangers, you get every 3 refines of Sharp Star, 5% crit damage, and 7% Focus Arrow Strike damage, which, yeah, obviously, Focus Arrow Strike relies heavily on critical damage, so this is definitely good, even though how small of a bonus it actually gives. Every 3 refines of Falcon Shooter, you get Arrow Storm SP consumption minus 2%. Well, to be fair, you know, it does eat up a lot of SP, and you get 15 seconds of no limits cooldown. So basically at plus 12, you get minus 60 seconds or minus 1 minute of cooldown for no limits. I kind of wish there was Arrow Storm damage bonus, but, you know, can't have everything, I guess. Next, every 3 refine rates of the Aiming Bow, you get 7% aim bolt damage and minus 2% aim bolt SP consumption. I don't know. I mean, it's probably good. You know, we'll have to test it. Next, for Royal Guards, Rendell's Memory, every 3 refines of Farthizan, I guess. 10% Gloria Domini damage, 5% Genesis Ray damage. Every 3 refines of Harv, 10% Rapid Smiting damage, and 5% Shield Press damage. Any Rapid Smiting or Shield Press damage is probably good, I guess. It doesn't. You don't get a lot of bonus around it, to be fair. Every 3 refines of Fortridge, you get 7% Overbrand damage and 5% Cannon Spear damage. That's actually pretty good. Like I said, I'll probably still combo that with the old Casket of Protection, just because it deals more around Overbrand and Cannon Spear. Next, for the Geneticists, Flamel's Memory, every 3 refines of Estal, Spore Explosion damage plus 7%, and minus 0.2 seconds cooldown of Spore Explosion. Every 3 refine rates of Coolant Injection, you get Card Cannon damage plus 7%, and long range damage of 2%. This is actually pretty good, given that obviously Card Cannon is long range, but 2% is a bit low, you know. I kind of wish it was 5%. Every 3 refines of the Genie Rod, 7% Crazy Vine damage, and minus 0.2 seconds of cooldown for Crazy Vines. Yeah, like I understand what that does. Next, for the Shadow Chaser, Gertie's Memory, every 3 refines of Jack the Knife, get 10% Backstab damage and 5% Fatal Menace damage, which, to be honest, Fatal Menace bonuses are actually very welcome, you know, especially with a Temporal Circlet coming out as well. Every 3 refines of the Platinum Dagger, you get Fire, Water, Wind, and Earth property magical damage plus 5% and 2% attack speed. It's actually pretty good, you know, given the fact that you can actually run Bolter with a Platinum Dagger. Every 3 refines of the Rapid Fire, you get 7% Triangle Shot damage and 2% long range damage. I'd still prefer Ghoul of Teeth, but yeah, at least they get an enchant. Next, for the Sorcerer class, Celia's Memory, every 3 refines of Boltagen, 10% Earth Spite damage and 7% Heaven's Drive damage. I kind of wish you get a little bit more in terms of other elements like Platinum Dagger, but yeah, I'll take it. You'll probably have to focus most of your bonuses on the Earth spells like Earth Spike and Heaven's Drive, but yeah. Next, every 3 refine rates of Psychic Spear Rod, you get 7% Psychic Wave damage and 0.2 seconds cooldown of Veriteer Spear, which is, you know, always welcome. Cooldown reduction for that. Every 3 refines of Dust Grave, you get 7% Earth Grave damage and 5% Diamond Dust damage. actually pretty solid, but obviously at plus 12 it's just 20%, so you know, it'll be good to test how much damage that thing can actually do. Next, for the Surra class, Enchant's Memory. Every 3 refines of the Raging Dragon Fist, you get 10% more damage for Raging Quadruple Blow and Dragon Thrust. And you also get 7% damage for Chain Crush combo, which is actually pretty good, to be honest, because you know, you'll have to run that combo to get to, you know, your final whatever. Anyway, every 3 refined rates of Fighting Gods Bandage, you get 7% Knuckle Arrow damage and 2% long range damage, which is always welcome. And Knuckle Arrow is, I feel like it can be utilized, but just the applications for the above 200 might be hard unless comboing it with stuff like Tiger Cannon, you know. Every 3 refined rates of Bright Pendulum, you get Throw Spirit Sphere and Occult Impact plus 10% and 5% Lightning Ride and Sky Blow damage. Now, oddly enough, for the Wanderer and the Maestro class, there are separate enchants. So with Alfosho's Memory, you know, this is for the Wanderer class. Every 3 refines of Wind Gale, this is actually the same as the next one. Severe Rainstorm plus, I'm sorry, not Wanderer, Maestro. Severe Rainstorm minus 3%, well, the SP consumption, then 2% long range damage. Not that much, but you know, still. Every 3 refines of Black Circle, you get 5% neutral property magic damage and 5% damage from metallic sound. I don't know how good that'll be. Next, every 3 refines of the Antique Cello, you get 5% severe rainstorm damage and 2% long range damage. At least you get more severe rainstorm damage, but just with the Antique Cello or even the Scarlet Ribbon with only 1 second cooldown reduction for severe rainstorm, kind of hard to even pick it. But you know, obviously I don't play Master or Wanderer, so a lot of you guys might actually have a better opinion around this. And last, Trentini's Memory. This is for the Wanderer class. Obviously Wind Gale, SP consumption, long range damage, same as the last one. With Heart Whip, every 3 refines, 5% neutral property magic damage, blah blah blah. And Scarlet Ribbon, 5% severe rainstorm damage, 2% long range damage. They're all the same. It just, I guess, depends on which weapon it's channeled to, you know. But yeah, basically, it's you can use them interchangeably. It's just that you just have to have the right enchant for the right weapon, you know. And so guys, those are the enchants for the Somatology Laboratory weapons. Not everything is good, you know. Only some are, to be honest. And like I said, the most advisable thing that you could do is really just do the 5,000 Somatology research documents, the guaranteed enchant, because you don't want to be left with, you know, the wrong enchant unless you get plenty of weapons and then sort of just roll it with the general ones, and if it pops, it pops. I mean, you might get lucky, you know, but at the same time you might not, and pretty soon you've already spent 5,000 Somatology research documents that you could have just used to do one guaranteed enchant, you know. So yeah, it's releasing today. I know everybody is excited. I'm actually uploading this before any patch notes are coming out, so some of the information might change, it may not. But yeah, I was just basing all of this in, you know, with regard to the KRO data. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time.